Cheapest 997 Gen 2 in the country? Yeah, it probably was. I don't actually own all of this car. Let's go. Fuel carriageway. Don't want to give it back. Regular viewers of the channel will know I like Porsches. I've had two 944 S2s, a 944 Turbo, a 986 Boxster, a 996 Cab, and a 997 Gen 2 C4S convertible. Really regular viewers of the channel will know that I sold that 997 Gen 2 C4S convertible last year after owning it for only 3 months. That's the shortest I've ever owned a car. If you're not a regular viewer of the channel, why not click on the subscribe button, hit the little bell icon, and you'll get notified whenever we do another video. So welcome to my 7th Porsche, a 997 Gen 2 3.6 base model Carrera. Let's just pause there for a second. I don't actually own all of this car. Bit of a long story, and if you're interested, subscribe to the channel. I actually only own 49% of it. Subscribe to the channel. I'll do another video on why that is, but basically I'm sharing it. The 997 was a direct evolution from the 996, Porsche's first water-cooled 911, retaining its successful formula while improving looks, reliability, build quality and performance. The 997 Gen 2 represents the last iteration of this platform before the introduction of the 991. Blending traditional design cues with modern engineering, it is today considered by many to be the last true 911. I've always liked 911s. I like the shape. It's hard not to be captivated by them, I suppose. They're sort of iconic. They've been around so many years, and every time you see them, I know the shape evolves, but it never really changes, and it's just sort of steadfast and nice. Having a 944 back in the day, having had 3 of them, I remember getting in them and at first feeling the solidity of them. It felt unfamiliar. Most cars are a bit softer and a bit more comfy to drive, but once you kind of get used to that solidity, it just sort of feels great. This car, I had a few fave searches going. I won't share where it was advertised. It only was advertised in one place, very short brief of time, and I kind of jumped on it, if I'm honest. It ticked a lot of the boxes that I was after. Manual, coupe, rear-wheel drive. I like the 997 shape. I was never a big fan of the 996, or B, I will say that I think that's come into his own now with those fried egg headlights. They're of a time, and it's kind of cool. I get that now, but I always loved the 997 shape. However, the first generation, I've just read too many horror stories about bore score issues and IMS bearing problems that, even if they are just internet myths, and I don't suspect they are, I've read so many, it's just massively put me off. Also, I just like the upgrades, the subtle upgrades that came on the Gen 2, that even with the heater controls, there's a lot of things that were changed underneath in terms of the componentry that went into this. It looks very similar than the Gen 1, but Porsche did move the game up a bit. You got daylight running lights, slightly bigger wing mirrors, nicer rear lights, I think anyway, and a DFI engine, that direct fuel injection engine, which was later transplanted into the 991. Porsche moved the game on. It's probably not got as much character and charisma as the Gen 1 997 engine, but then it is a bit more reliable. So if you haven't seen the video where I bought the 997 Gen 2 C4S convertible and sold it after 3 months, go and watch that. That will explain a lot. But in short, ended up with a convertible with a PDK gearbox. It was PDK, it was convertible, and it was 4-wheel drive. Those were the 3 things that I didn't want, and 3 things this car does not have. It's coupe, manual, rear-wheel drive. Much better. I, however, only have space for 5 cars off the road, which is okay. I don't have infinite YouTube revenue, so that does probably mean that 1 car will have to go, and it's likely, dare I say, to be the Lotus Evora. If you are interested in that, I'll probably do a video when I come to sell it, not before I've done a comparison between this 997 Gen 2 3.6 and the Lotus Evora, because on paper, pound for pound, weight, power, overall performance, 2+2 nature, they're both red, they're actually quite similar. I keep saying it, it's rear-wheel drive. It's not got a sunroof, which I kind of like, lest I go wrong. It's pretty bare bones in terms of spec. It's a coupe, which I kind of think 911s should be. And most importantly, you have to change your gears yourself. All right, that's enough talking. Let's go out, have a drive. So how cheap was it? Now, admittedly, the title of this video is a little bit clickbaity. Cheapest 997 Gen 2 in the country? Well, yeah, it probably was. Omitting ones that were Cat S or Cat N, I'm pretty sure it was. If you didn't see it advertised, well, that's your lookout. Trust me, this Gen 2 997 was cheap. Come on then, tell us how cheap. Well, sorry, I'm not going to tell you. There's only one other person that isn't the seller who knows. Well, two other people actually. One of them part owns this car with me. The other is a guy called Jez, friend, who I bought the Lotus Evora off. Jez, if you're watching, don't write in the comments and tell people what I paid for this. I'll delete that comment. I assume you're watching, Jez. There's no such thing as a cheap Porsche. It must be terrible. Absolutely not. It is by no means perfect. Brakes are a little bit spongy. Clutch has got quite a bit of travel. Exhaust looks like the Titanic. But other than that, it's a nearly 130,000 mile, 16-year-old car. And it's still good. Pretty good. Great, even. Everything in here feels new, fresh, modern, solid, clean, tidy, no rips, no tears, no scrapes, no scratches. It's all good. Yeah, it's only the 3.6 and not the S, but you know what? That doesn't matter. It's a 911. The engine is in the right place and it gives you that shove in the back that the C4S Gen 2 that I had just didn't. Don't get me wrong, that delivered the power well to all four wheels, but it was more or less instantaneous. This is a bit more, give you a good old push. There's no sunroof, there's no cruise, there's no Bose, there's no PASM, there's no memory seats. But so what? It's raw, it's honest, it's simple. That's what sports cars should be. It's base spec, less to go wrong. Manual gearbox, and I like that. I like it a lot. Still chucks out 345 brake horsepower. That's only 5 less than the supercharged 3.5 litre in the Lotus Evora we've got back home. 0 to 60 in about 4.7 seconds. Top speed 179 miles an hour. This is a great car. It's got the 991 3.6 direct fuel injection. It gives more performance, more economy. This car will get, I reckon, 30 mpg. I've been tooling around and I'm getting 25 miles to the gallon. It also has a slightly cheaper tax band, only costing £415, which is significantly less than the Lotus Evora, which is in the higher 715 tax band. Thanks Porsche for making a more efficient engine. It lacks a little bit of character and charisma of the old 997 engine, but not enough so you'd notice. You can fix that with a decent exhaust. This does have PSE, but I think the valve's not opening properly. It's probably something to look at. Let's go. Fuel carriage rate. We're going to be doing more on this 997 before we have to give it back to its other half owner, who is also probably watching. Don't want to give it back. I like it. Nothing compares to a 911, and I mean nothing. Just so usable. I'm going to do a deep dive into it. I'm hopefully going to get a chance to do a comparison with the Lotus Evora S. Easier to get in and out of than a Lotus. Basically because they have very similar performance figures, similar kind of prices, similar weight, very similar in many respects, apart from one's mid-engine, one's rear-engine, one's British, one's German. And I'm also going to do a little bit of a story about part ownership, because I only own part of this car, not all of it. I think I own the back bit, the engine bit, that's the nice bit. So if you like 997 Gen 2s, base model 3.6 Carreras, and why wouldn't you? Who doesn't? Lotus Evora RSs, Peugeot 205 GTIs, that's the go-to classic. Mercedes C350E, our daily driver, I hate that term. Hybrid, does everything, cool car. And Mark III NC 2-litre Mazda MX-5 tin top coupe hardtop thing. Then what you need to do is subscribe. Write in the comments, tell us what you think, hit like, do all of that stuff, and we'll see you again very soon. Thanks for watching. Cheers.